And we are recording, so that is a good thing. Let me get that alert off. I don't know why it always goes over my face, and that drives me insane because then I can't see. It's just one of those weird things. But anyways, good morning, everyone. What a jam-packed day this morning we're going to have with so many different things that are trending right now. But as you know, it's Thursday, although I have to keep reminding myself what day of the week it is because I've been screwed up this entire week with a Monday holiday. How about you? I hope that's not happening, but it's been happening to me. Missing appointments, engagements, whatever. It just kind of happens. But anyways, it is Trending Thursday. My name is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss, live in a beautiful Vero Beach with two
sisters. Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Today in North Haven, it's doom, gloom, rainy, thunderstorm, whatever, and that's why the lighting is off. and I'm starting to look at those round lights so I can put it in front of me versus over here because that's how far the connection thing goes. We'll figure it out. But today obviously is a jam-packed day. We have so much to talk about. And at some point, I'm even going to bust in with this has nothing to do with nothing.
Why not?
But something to do with something. Okay, I'll do it now. So when I walk outside in the morning, I love that nice quiet. And I think I may have mentioned that yesterday. It's just such a joy for me to listen to nature and be connected with the universe. So I start thinking of, maybe, I haven't done a nothing about nothing kind of segment. And so all these ideas started popping in my head. Yes, there's always a lot of popping going on. So I came up with, where did these terms come from? So the first one that popped into my head was soap opera. Obviously, we know the term soap opera references the daytime shows that, well, I know that men watch them, but 99.9% are women. So the question is for you, Carol Sue. Now put your phone down because you can't look this up.
I was just about to share.
Oh, okay, that's okay. So do you know where the origin of soap opera came from?
I thought it was from on stage. Actually had to do with some sort of opera thing, but I know that's wrong. So I'm gonna guess. I don't. Are you talking about the actual origin of the name or the actual type, of entertainment?
The daytime television shows, we know are referred to as soap opera.
Yes.
But the term soap,
I see.
Opera came from, or how it was derived came.
I see. Okay, so I'm going to say, you have to also think of when the origin took place. When the first soap opera was, which I do not know that date, but I'm going to guess it was probably, somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in that time frame. And typically speaking, most women were not career orientated in the professional world. They were stay-at-home moms. Soap, because of soap commercials, meaning detergent. Ivory soap comes into mind. And opera meaning, I'm not really sure about the opera piece to it, soap opera. I don't know about that piece, but it has something.
You're definitely on the right track. So
okay, well that's good.
Yes, that's awesome because soap refers to the fact that the early sponsors of such series on US radio were often soap manufacturers.
Right.
Opera refers to the scale of dramatic incident that happens in these programs.
And that's so perfect because that's a very descriptive description of really for that time frame of where we were, because it did start on radio. A lot of people didn't realize that it started on radio, which it did, and ended up on television. obviously gearing toward the stay-at-home mom, which was at that point probably 99.9% of the population, other than, people maybe in the medical field or whatever. Back then, a woman entrepreneur or, the term stay-at-home mom didn't even exist. You just stayed at home because that's what you did. That was your job while your husband went to work and earned the bread. And the woman stayed home and cleaned the house, took care of the children, the laundry, all the lovely chores that most women just aspire to do. Not
Right, exactly. So you definitely were on the right track. You did awesome. And one more question.
okay.
And I think this may be a Thursday segment, just saying.
Okay, I kind of like it.
Especially in this crazy digital world, women, men, everybody is saying, oh, I'm always running ragged. So the next question is, where did the term running ragged come from?
I believe running ragged actually came, I don't again know the origin and or the time frame. I'm going to just take a gander, I guess, at this. I think it's got something to do with, actual runners, where, especially maybe a marathon runner or a long distance runner, where, that lag time towards that last mile or two, you're dragging, you're just, really trying to make it to the finish line. And so you're running out of steam, you're running out of electrolytes, you're ready to probably piss in your pants because you got to pee, because you've been drinking all these electrolytes, and you just are physically exhausted. And I have no idea if I'm even close.
So you're doing actually quite well. You're definitely on the right track. And I was surprised when I looked this up before we came on air. So the term came from 1682, when a group of Quakers were going to be arrested on their flight to America. So instead of taking their group along a road, excuse me, that they had, the ship picked them up in the middle of the night to escape from the Redcoats in the Church of England. So not only was our nothing about something trivia, but it was also filled with a lot of history. And what is better by that, by providing some joy through a couple of history questions.
No, that was good, Jan. Those were great questions. And, I'm sure our listeners will appreciate, obviously learning kind of like a fun fact. And I kind of like that segment. I'm kind of digging that. I think the roles will have to be reversed and we'll have to take turns on that because I don't always want to be in the hot seat.
Right, exactly. So next week it's your turn.
Although you didn't really put me on the hot seat. It just really got me to think. And I wasn't sure that I was ready to think that, deeply.
And by the way, and just to let everybody know, I am not good at that type of thing, but I think it'll be fun to do because I'll be like, I don't know.
And yes, so we can actually pose this question to our viewers and listeners. If you've got kind of like a fun fact that you want to share with us, does not necessarily have to do with health and wellness, although I think that was a nice tie-in with the running ragged because that has to do with health and wellness. Imagine running like that back in that time frame, running for your lives for freedom. And, obviously trying to meet that ship and probably going into a direction and or trail that you were trying to kind of less traveled so you wouldn't be so noticed. So that must have added a lot of stress. And we don't want to do that. We want to add joy because we are in the month of June and everything's all about joy. Although the next segment that we're going to chat about will eventually lead to joy, but it's the journey to get to joy sometimes, right? It is Trending Thursday. So what is trending? Well, the first joyful thing I will say is anyone that bought the AMC stock is having some joy right now. It is a stock that no one really thought would come of anything. It's an entertainment stock. And those that took advantage of it first thing, and what I always say to people, be joyful that you did, get the clue to buy it, but don't think that it's never too late to buy. They're not certainly in that spot right now. They will, I believe it closed, I want to say maybe 8 times yesterday, something like that. They had a halt. the buying of it because it was going kind of crazy. So a lot of people are feeling some joy from that day. It's one of those stocks where I don't want to necessarily call it a penny stock, but it was just one of those stocks that, you weren't think we're going to do too good. And then all of a sudden, and it is what I find kind of joyful about it. It's the typical analyst, that predicts stocks and or financial futures or whatnot. That took them for a loop because really the hotness of the stock really came from people on social media talking in different different Facebook groups or messaging that don't necessarily are going through a regular broker or whatever. And it's just one of those kinds of things. So there's a lot of people feeling a lot of joy with that stock. Another thing that right now is not joyful, but hopefully as people band together on this, we're understanding that there's more companies out there now that are demanding that their employees get the jabba do ya. Some are offering incentives like hot dogs, hamburgers, gift cards. If you think that's worthy of you getting a jabba do, that there is so much more to know about. And that brings you joy because you're not in fear, go for it. But that's a segment that's going to lead into something that we are finding, I guess for those that knew something was up with this particular propaganda push on this particular narrative might be feeling a little joy, and it's more of a I told you so kind of a joy. I'm not the kind of a person that I told you so kind of a person. However, I am a person that says be open to listening to different opinions because you may learn something and it may be very helpful and useful. Don't criticize it because you don't know at the end game whether it's going to, be true or not. So what, of course, is probably the big trendsetter right now on this Trending Thursday, besides the AMC stock, which I think is a big one, happens to be Dr. Fauci. We know that Dr. Fauci has, I guess it's nice to know in a joyful kind of way that other people's are having their emails leaked, and the whole point of, an email leaker in some ways is someone that is anonymously reporting them, is a whistleblower per se. We have another one on the Black Lives Matter movement that also is someone that was an insider, was high up, and has now come out very passionately about the dishonesty of that particular organization. But we're not going to go in that direction right now. We're just going to kind of concentrate on, because people, are talking about a lot of companies pushing the jab on them when they don't want to. And the flip side of that is they're now being threatened with loss of job. This one particular company, Whole Foods, I'm going to go out and say what the company is because it's not a secret. Whole Foods, who is owned by Mr. Bezos, and I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly on purpose. I do know how to pronounce his name, who is the owner of the multi whatever trillions or however many dollars that Amazon company is worth. Also, a lot of people don't realize he owns Whole Foods, and pushing the narrative that you have to get the vaccination, or you can't go maskless, because they're also introducing that you can go maskless, but you can only go maskless if you have the jabba do. And they're also have taken away benefits from part-time employees. Before they had some health benefits. They've now taken those away. And they are pushing that if you don't get it, that you're going to be terminated. So, they're adding to, again, the jobless market, because not everyone chooses to have the jabba do. And that is another instance of vaccination segregation that's going on. How do you flip that into a joyful situation before we get on to Fauci? Is that people, the Whole Foods group, that they're calling themselves whole workers, are banding together and asking and pleading with the American people to email him, to call him, and fight for these workers. And I think, those are, again, one of those things that we talk about. One person can start a movement to help other people, to make sure that they still have joy in their lives. And when you have a job, you have joy because you can pay your bills, right? So I'm going to put that link. It is on my personal page, but we're going to make sure that we list it. So if you know somebody that works for Whole Foods, and or do you believe that it's not just for them to do an action like that, to threaten them with losing their jobs and terminating them, and you want to fight for the underdog, which is really the American worker at this point, we would love your support in that. So that's, and collectively, hopefully that we collectively do that as a people, and the end result would end with joy, with people feeling secure that they have a job. Now, let's get on to Dr. Fauci and his email leaks. Now, again, I talked about the joy of that person saying, I told you so. For us, Two Sisters, it is never about that. It's just about enlightening people, because all these things that we talk about do impact our health and wellness. And, if we want to be truly honest, over the last 15 months, I can't believe we're at the 15-month mark, but we are, to know, trust in our government and trust in the people that are speaking on behalf of a pandemic. You want to have trust in that, right? You want to feel good. You want to feel secure that the information that they are announcing, telling us what to do, informing us is accurate and that it's truthful. So let's give a list of some of the things that have been leaked about this particular Dr. Fauci. And these are all in question marks. So I just want to make sure that we're doing this in a question mark. We're not doing it in a factual sense. We're doing it in a question, because the leaked emails do leak information that make you question because of the way that they're written. So the first question, funded, by Dr. Fauci, funded the Wuhan lab, knew the virus was created in the Wuhan lab as a bioweapon, knew it was not, I repeat, knew it was not asymptomatic. And a lot of these things are actually coming from his own verbiage in these emails. Help created, okay, now this is more of it's a question, but it's also a statement as of the result of what he's done. Helped created an avalanche of fear, which resulted in the loss of jobs, loss of business, lockdowns, depression, stress, suicide, and putting ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren through hell. Let's not to mention the fact of all the elderly that were scared and died alone and confused. And the biggest probably inflammatory, discovery, the virus passes through masks because it is smaller than mask material. Now, all this is a narrative that he knew about, that obviously has been now leaked through his emails. And where does the end game go with that? Like, what would be the reason for him to come on camera countless times, too many times to even add up, to tell the American people one thing, but in his emails, kind of the complete opposite? It all leads, again, my opinion, it all leads to what we are, and I promise you, what we are going to learn about the Jabba Jabba Do. That it all leads to that. All roads of deception lead to what we're going to learn about the Jabba Jabba Do. And what you can, for those that have been the digital warrior, that have been trying to share all this information to keep our listeners and viewers and our citizens informed, because it also leads to a thing about trusting, leadership, trusting people in powerful positions that are supposed to be educated, intellectual people that are experts in their field, yet they're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. And in the end game, it really leads you to believe that your gut feeling about the government and the way the government is run and the corruption that we know is there, you have no alternative other than to think that. And the reason being, because if they weren't, why wouldn't this monster, this Dr. Fauci monster, why wouldn't he already be locked up for crimes against humanity? You know, for murders, for deaths, countless destruction of our economics. And a lot of people say, you know it's going to happen. It's going to impact our health and wellness yet again, because it's going to have to go to a commission and to a hearing, and then you're going to get to the court system, and nothing will be done about it. So here is a man that was in power, a scientist, and now they've got leak emails that in his own emails clearly says the opposite of what he's told the American people. How do we create joy out of that? And I guess the only joy that you would get out of that, and it's really hard to kind of dig through all of that to have joy, is trying to hope that there's some resolve. What do you think?
Well, that's an open-ended question. I did see what you are referring to. I only glanced at it, but obviously knew from what I did see. And I said a prayer. I said a prayer because right then and there in that moment brought me back to obviously last year, obviously what we went through with our dad. And I said a prayer for all those families who lost their loved ones and no one was around to be with them. They weren't allowed, some of them weren't even allowed to have a funeral or a service to acknowledge the passing. And I prayed. That brought me joy in the sense of, I know I can't go back and change it, but it also made me think of all the different things that transpired last year, and that did bring me sadness. So I knew that I had to redirect my energy in prayer. And I could say much more, but I don't think computer generation closed caption likes us today, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, you know what? I mean, the bottom line is everyone knows who I'm talking about, regardless of what I'm saying. I'm referring to him as Dr. Fauci. And I'm not seeing the closed captions. Let's see, it's coming up right now. It probably changed it again, and that is okay. Okay, there he is, Dr. Fauci. So they
now it's okay.
Talking about Dr. Fauci. Funny that you have to kind of do these things, which again, why do I have to do that? Why do we have to do that? Why does anyone have to use different terminology or purposely misspell words to get their point across? Sadly, that's because of censorship. Now, censorship is a word out there, folks, and it's truly happening. And again, these are things that I think when you really lock arms with those people around you that really understand from the perspective that we are coming from, get a certain amount of joy watching us dance around what we have to say to get our point across. And sadly, that's the times that we're in, and I don't have a problem doing that. But it all makes you do wonder at what's the end game and how it does impact our health and wellness. Not only what the families that lost their loved ones, but what's going on concurrently right now with school systems and the whole masking, where he firmly admits in these emails that they don't work. Common sense has told us that, but sadly, a lot of people put their trust in this particular scientist, this leader that is supposed to represent our country and humanity in a great way. And he purposely pulled a fast one over a lot of people. So a lot of people now are like, who was right in all of this? Number 45 was right on it. He frequently said, that our country had to kind of, and I'm not going to quote exactly the way he worded it. The gist of the game was, we have to bleed before we see. And a lot of times you got to go through hell before you really see the full picture of the people that we have entrusted to do right by us as human beings, right by us, by citizens, by parents, by our children. And the whole masquerade of perpetrating, mask wearing. Why would somebody, the question that comes to mind is why? Why all of this propaganda about mask wearing? And I've said it all along, and I remember vividly in February of 2020, actually mocking someone coming back from Mexico wearing a mask. And I thought to myself, because for me, it automatically went to a mask is no good unless you're in a sterile environment. And we've chatted about that for the last 15 months, that a mask in a controlled, sterile environment, yes, it's to prevent the person, the doctor, the nurses, from any kind of splash or whatever that's coming in the OR, but also vice versa. So a mask is only really protects the person wearing it. If they're sick, and why would you do that? Well, normally you would just use, the old-fashioned Kleenex and wipe your nose, and hopefully common sense, if you're sick, you stay home. But to wear it outside on a beach, to have athletes wear it, to have young children that really depend on the person in front of the classroom for articulation, for communication, to see the teacher's lips. You've put the damage, and the damage can be undone with time, and it will be. We're a people of survival. We are a creature of, that we get through things together, and those children will get through with it. There will be some scarring, no doubt. There are going to be scars against the families that lost those loved ones for what reason. And I'm not saying that the virus wasn't real. The virus is very much very real, but how it was created, that is a big question mark still. The propaganda of the push for the whole mask, which we now know from his own verbiage in his emails, was a farce. Well, why? And I think that's the piece that people are going to struggle with if they remain closed-minded. Because if you remain open-minded and you're a critical thinker, you're going to see there's an end game to this somewhere. And I do believe, for me, it's the push for the jabba jabba do. But why is there a push for the jabba jabba do? We're hearing that now from our leaders, so much from our leaders now. And let's be real. When have you known a politician to push a vaccine? And why? So you have all these people that are pushing the vaccine. Now you have companies that are pushing the vaccine and they're giving you ultimatums. If you don't, you're not going to work here. If you don't, you cannot, you have to remain with a mask. Well, how are they going to hold that up now when the person that perpetrated wearing the mask in his own emails admits they don't protect? I wonder how corporations are going to do that. And I think collectively, with what the information that has been now bravely leaked, because I would say that was a pretty brave leak going against Dr. Fauci, would be a good tool for anyone that is also pushing for corporations like Whole Foods, because Whole Foods is certainly not the only one that is doing that, to not treat their employees that way and push something that we already know now from the culprit who started it doesn't work.
So as you were speaking there, there's always something popping, right?
Hop
So
away.
of course I had to look up where, and you cannot look this up. And this is a question for our viewers. And I will say the first viewer listener to text me, send us a message, we have something special for you. That's all I'm going to say. So the question is, where did the term, and let me write this down so I don't forget. Where did the term end game come from? Oh, we froze up there. Are you there? So, not sure what happened, but it looks like we froze up, or Carol Sue froze up. So again, where did the term end game come from? And on that note, obviously we're having some technical issues, but you know, it's always great to come in on a Trending Thursday and to always share what we are passionate about. My name is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. We hope you have an amazing day and tune in tomorrow. We're going to be on a little earlier tomorrow. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.